Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the TBRPG series. Today I want to make several layers of terrain. So I've made a quick change on the actual terrain atlas script. I meant to record it, but I had some problems with the final file, so what I did was to switch from the tile size being square to making the possibility of having two different tile width or tile height. So I changed it in here, and I got the actual tile width and height using that script. And then I changed how this worked using here the width and height when making a triangle instead of using just the square sides. So for this tutorial I'm going to be making another layer of the terrain, which is going to be on top of the player, just like that. Okay, so you can see it's on top. So for that particular purpose I've made a terrain 2 asset here, okay, which has some rocks and a kind of tree. Okay, it's enabled to be read from the terrainator window. It has transparency and point filter. So first I have to make another material like this for the second terrain. Okay, so I'm going to be using a transparent material. Okay, I'm not using illumination or the custom lighting because it had some problems before, so I'll check that out before that, but I wanted to keep making tutorials and not stopped in that lighting problem. So let's add the material here. Okay, as you can see it's on top of the player, but this is kind of different because we don't have only 2 by 2 assets. We have 4 by 4, as you can see in the texture. Okay, it's a 4 by 4. You can see it right here, 4 by 4. Okay, so let's change that on the asset rows and columns. Okay, let's click on play so the new mesh generates, and then what we want to change is to make everything 0. So let's go to tiles. We are going to be making every single tile 0. Let's see. I don't know if I implemented an autofill. I did not. It's okay. This should work to let every single point here be 0. So okay, that's the first step here. So I'm going to be editing that terrain. I'm going to open my terrain editor, and also just to make this work I'm going to be first setting all the metadata to 1. Okay, so every piece should be walkable. So then I open the terrain editor and let's start putting a tree here. Okay, click like a transparent one here. Let's put several rocks along the way. Okay, something like that. Okay, I believe that editor could be made better, and I'll make a better version for the release. But okay, we can check that everything that's why can't we go up? Okay, I don't know why can't we go up, but that's okay. Let's check. Okay, so while this new layer works, we might want to make oops, there is something wrong here. So terrain atlas, it seems that something right here isn't working. Let me debug this in a moment. Let's check our coordinates. We are the 7-5. Okay. So as you can see, this isn't quite working the way we expected, because when this tells us that we are on the 720, we should be actually right here. Okay, let's check left. Sorry, clear this. 019 2. Okay, there is a problem right there. So I seem to have missed something along the way. Let's make the terrain a little bit smaller so we can check that out. Okay. Oops, the fill might be here. No. Tile width and tile height are already floats. Interesting. Alright, let's keep on making the terrain. So, before I make more mistakes, I'm going to be adding a few rocks here. I want those rocks on the second layer to prevent me from going to and from them, so they are not passable. So again, let's make 3 of them. So I want to make those not possible. So let's check something here. 7 and 8 from the player coordinates. The terrain, tile size. Let's make it public. Let's check here with height, x times tile width, y times tile height, tile width, tile height, to the vertices, width with x, height with y. Okay, so I have no clue of what's happening here. So let's see. We have our player in the position 7.1. Let's take the calculator. 7.1 divided by we said it was 0.72. 0.72. That's like the 10 we are being shown. Okay, and the player has a scale of 1. Okay, my bad. The terrain has to have a scale of 1 to 1. That was the GL all along. Okay. So working now. That's right, you remember we have the problem of going outside, it's okay. We just need to add a black border, so that solved. Let's keep on going. So we want to make the metadata passable for everyone except only passable for the tile 0. So everyone is tile 0 and there are several rocks. Okay, so tile 0 is the only one who, which will be passable, so the rest are going to have a 0. Okay, they won't be passable. So the actual terrain should have another terrain atlas, which is going to be the child, and in this child we are going to be returning here. If we don't have any child, we will just return the metadata, but if we have a child, as you can see here, I was messing around with this but it didn't get recorded, so so it only works if the child has the same tile width and height, because the index may change otherwise. So if we have a child, we are going to be using the minimum number of the metadata. So we have the actual metadata, and the child gets metadata from the same index. Close those parentheses and okay. So the child metadata is the minimum between every single layer of the terrain. Okay, so this is the terrain over the player. Okay, so we can see if this works. Okay, so now the problem is that we have here our terrain, but we haven't specified the child. Let's drag this over and check it again. So now we shouldn't be able to cross these rocks here, and they are drawn on top of the player. So some cool effects that we can do is to have a terrain over and a terrain under the player, for example. Okay. So in this case, you're going to have the terrain over to have like nothing. The terrain under is going to be on the set minus 0.1. Okay, so it's going to be drawn behind the player. This one here, again we set those tiles. And on the terrain under, I'm going to be making something like a tree right there. Then on the terrain over, I'm going to be opening the terrain editor and try to make the tree on the same position. Okay. This is a bit primitive right here, but okay. So in this one, everything should be possible because we are going to be walking under it. This terrain under is going to have the terrain over as a child, and the actual terrain is going to have the terrain under, so it's layered like that. So let's see. Here I made quite a mistake. Let me fix that. I need to make a better terrain editor sometime. Okay, can. And also we can be under the tree, but we cannot cross the tree, and that part is drawn over the player. Okay, as you can see now, the player and the terrain don't have the same tile size, and that's a problem. But with some graphical adjustments, we might have a cool looking game. So that's it for today. Sorry it was quite long and painful to watch me do that, but as I said, sometimes I like to record this as I go. I don't like to do a lot of tests and predefine what the actual things should be like, and I like to fail in camera so you can see how it's really done and how you can face bugs you encounter along the way. So hope you liked it. If you want to see more, just subscribe, and that's all. Have a nice day.